Hello and welcome to the Week 11 preview show of the Jefferson Mad Drinks Fantasy Podcast, the pod on a mission to normalise 8-team leagues. It's just a two-man show. I'm joined by the wonderful Ian Harrison. Good day, mate. How are you?
Good day. Yeah, I'm good. And another weekend, another Bengals loss. So, yeah, I'm sound.
We need to start with the Bengals, I think. We should say there's no H. We touched on it last week. We don't know when H is going to be back. He's all right. He's alive for anybody who cares. But he's not going to appear on the podcast anytime soon by the sounds of it.
No, he's made the mistake of getting his wife pregnant for the third time. Now he's working an incredible amount of overtime because his baby's due on Super Bowl weekend, which is incredibly poor planning.
Yeah, who'd have thought that H was that attractive? Really, that he gets to be pregnant 3 times. And if he's listening, which I know he will at some point, I apologise for that, mate. I wouldn't have said anything on here that I wouldn't say to your face. But at the same time, congratulations. We've already said congratulations, but yeah, it's bad, terrible planning. Everyone's starting to put their Super Bowl plans in place now, and he's got nothing. He might be watching for a hospital.
I mean,
he might just be watching.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's a genuine reason. Like, it's not just sacked it off because the Texans threw one away against the Lions.
No. Do you know, before we get on to the Bengals, I'm a bit worried for the Lions. And I didn't see the game the other day. And obviously they weren't at their brilliant best by all accounts. I mean, if Jared Goff's throwing 5 interceptions in the game, they're definitely not at their best. But I was thinking about Lions and Lions fans, and I was like, they've got all the hallmarks of a team that's going to fall apart or just have something go against them in the divisional round or the championship game, because everything's going a little bit too well at this point in the year. And I think we've seen it with the Bills in the past. When it goes really well through the first 10 or 12 weeks, it doesn't tend to continue for the rest of the 19 or 20 weeks of the season.
No, I agree. So, what you're thinking, the Lions are using up all of their luck now?
Yeah, well, not so much luck.
Get it in the playoffs.
I just think so. There's been a lot said about the Chiefs, and obviously they used up a bit of luck. But there's a lot. I think last year the Chiefs. I think as the season went on last year, the Chiefs got better and they hit form in the playoffs. And I just wonder whether the Lions have got another level to go to. It feels a bit like they're going to run out of steam at the wrong time, a bit like the Bills have done in previous years.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, there is that risk, I suppose. But you never know. They might get the division wrapped up and the number 1 seed nailed down early enough that they can start resting players for the playoffs.
Yeah, maybe. You must have been disappointed on Thursday night. I thought I was going to get my shout of the Bengals right, because you had that game at various points. Yeah. You had it in your hands.
Oh, we so did, and the way it ended was so disappointing because NFL memes put a picture up and there was 3 face masks in one play. I mean, everyone's getting the face mask pulled. There was clear holding on Tanner Hudson. It was just a sickening way to end the game. And then you've got everyone going, oh, we should have just taken the point, but we might not get the ball back in overtime.
Yeah.
So, everyone's going to find a way to moan about it. Or should have just taken the point. But we took the point when we went to overtime with the Ravens earlier in the season, and we didn't win then. At least we put the ball in Joe's hands to go and win it, and I think the refs let us down a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been on the side of take the point and trust your team, because it does, to me, it does kind of go, I don't think we can get a stop, which you might not have got a stop, but to me, it's like you take the point and then you've got a 50-50 chance that you're getting the ball back straight away anyway. And then if you don't get it back, you've still got that chance that your defense might stop them or hold them to a field goal and give you a chance. So I think whereas, I mean, 1-2 point play, anything can go wrong. The one thing I would say is if you're going to run a 2 point play with the game on the line, go to Jamar Chase.
Well, did you see the whole timeout nonsense that we did.
Yeah.
On the first 3-point play, like we had Jamar Chase one-on-one coverage against the Ravens' worst corner. And we were just about to snap the ball, and Zach Taylor calls a timeout, and everyone was like, "What are you doing?" So then they came out and lined up, and it was just an absolute mess of a play. It's like you took a timeout to run this play. It was bad, but I agree with going for two. I just don't agree with the way that we did it or the way it turned out, really, because the refs definitely missed a blatant holding call.
It was almost as if he didn't want to go to Jamar Chase, so he was trying to get the Ravens to cover him a little bit more, so to open up other people. I was like, just go to your best player who's having an absolute stormer.
Yeah, just give him a chance.
Yeah,
but like, we were basically we shut the Ravens down. We were, it was quite comfortable until the Chase Brown fumble. Brown fumbled, and the Ravens got like, momentum is such a big part of American football. And as soon as we gave the Ravens a sniff, they just steamed through us and scored 21 unanswered points straight after that Chase Brown fumble. And we were on the ropes. So just to get that close is kind of an achievement. But without that fumble, I think we'd have destroyed him.
Yeah. One of the things that makes me laugh about the NFL, and it happened a couple of times this weekend, is whenever someone fumbles like that, they constantly go to the view of them on the bench. It's like between every single snap. It's like he snaps it, they run a play, and it's like, oh, what does Chase Brown think of that? And then they go back. Yeah. He's just there looking depressed on the bench every single time. But they must have showed him 20 times between him doing it and then like the Ravens scoring for the first time, and you're like, just give the lad a break.
He might have been sat there going, like, they didn't do that to Khalil Herbert. He had one carry, one fumble. Sit back down. Yeah. But then speaking of fumbles, like, did you feel sorry for Tyrone Tracy this week?
Yeah.
I felt incredibly sorry for the lad.
Yeah, he'd had a good game, and I didn't catch most of that because it was at the football, but yeah, he's done really well. He's come in and just, it was another one of them. The Chase Brown was a bit similar. It's like they're not massive mess. They're not messing up on a big scale. It's like defenders are getting a lot better at getting in there and punching balls out and making it hard. And I know it's their job to secure the ball, but it's not like he's just dropped it or mishandled it or whatever. It's just one of those things that's going to happen, but the worst possible timing.
Oh, and the worst possible field position. Like I don't even know why the Panthers ran 3 plays.
I said exactly the same thing to someone this morning. I was like, why did they not just send? Because you're just opening up the opportunity for that to happen again.
Yeah, I think they ran 3 plays for about 2 yards. I'm like, what are you doing? Just kick the field goal. Like how much trust do you not have in Pinheiro? Like, how close do you need it to be?
The only time that makes sense is if there's like 3 minutes on the clock. And then you're like, right, well, we might as well run the time down so that if he does miss it, we're not giving them a lot of time to go and score, and we know we're getting a tie out of it. But when there's so much, like it was the start of overtime, when it's so much time on the clock, what are you doing? Just get in there, kick the field goal, win the game,
go home. But, yeah, I was watching him. I was like, what? Just surely you're taking a knee. I mean, what are you doing here? I thought that was some crazy play calling from Canales.
Yeah, there's like hundreds of millions of NFL fans watching that game going, we'd all like a little bit of a break before red zone starts. So can you just kick the field goal so we can go and have grab a brew or a beer or whatever, and then before that carries on. One of the other things, I love a moan about the schedule.
Oh yes.
One of the other things I didn't realize, but I find this ridiculous, and it was watching the Bengals-Ravens game. How are we 10 weeks in and the Steelers haven't played a divisional game? That's ridiculous.
I know, but they've got like 3 back-to-back now. They've got the Ravens, the Browns, and then us.
Well, they've got to play 6 in the next 8 games. So,
yeah, they're not doing much traveling in the next 3 weeks.
No, they're very well coached. I don't give the Steelers a lot of credit on this podcast, but I will say they are very well coached.
They are well coached, and they had a bit of luck themselves, didn't they?
Yeah, you need a bit of luck in the NFL. But
Yeah, you do.
yeah,
But it did make me laugh because I was watching that game specifically, like the George Pickens stiff arm
yeah,
when it was the mid-air stiff arm. Like, what the hell is that?
yeah. He looks a lot better with Russell Wilson. Do you want me to
Yeah, he does.
on
I
the
mean,
subject? Go on.
go on, no, go on.
On the subject of the Steelers, do you want me to give you my? I've already moved on from the Colts season. I'm already in off-season mode with the Colts. I know we're only like
You've
10
given up.
weeks in, but I've had enough. I've had enough. I don't want to watch. I don't really want to watch Richardson. I definitely don't want to watch Flacco. Like the whole thing's just a bit of a mess. Jonathan Taylor's still great. Like to make that point, should have worn my Jonathan Taylor shirt to stand in unison with him. Wasted talent. What I want them to do in the off season, we are not going to have a high enough pick unless it absolutely blows up from here on in. We're not going to have a high enough pick to go and get a quarterback in the draft. So if they decide that they want to stick with Richardson and give him another year, which I can only assume that is the plan, like let's take him out, let's like let him sit for a bit and then see if we can bring him back next year. They should go and get Justin Fields in free agency because he's a similar sort of quarterback. And I think Justin Fields, with the right coaching and Shane Steichen, could make it when we can build a game plan around two very similar quarterbacks.
Okay, that's nice. It's not a bad idea. Well, there might be other quarterbacks available. Like Dan Jones might be looking for a new team.
Yeah. I don't want any of the quarterbacks that are going to be available in the summer. Just want to get
I'm sure Gardner Minshew might be on the move. Would you have him back?
No. Justin Fields is the only one where you're like, we could bring him in as a little bit of a stopgap for a couple of years, and it might turn into something that's more than that with the right coaching.
Yeah. But while we're on the Colts, like, do you see a way back for Richardson?
Yeah.
I mean, how badly does Flacco need to play for you to go back to Richardson?
I think to be honest, I really think it all depends on what happens in the next couple of games, because I think they've taken Richardson out because they think they've got a better chance of winning with Flacco. But once we get to sort of 4-8 and winning doesn't matter anymore because you can't make the playoffs, I think they'll start looking at the last few games of the season and thinking, right, we might as well go back to Richardson and see if we can get him working in this offense. Because playing Flacco for the last few games, unless Richardson's got another knock, makes no sense whatsoever. If you're not going to make the playoffs anyway, why? Flacco's only in there because they think there was a chance of making the playoffs and having a bit of a run.
Yeah. But being the Bills is a tough ask as well, though, isn't it?
Yeah. I was texting, I was on Twitter very briefly with Millionaire Matt because he was moaning about the Jets, and it's Jets Colts this weekend, which sounds like a bloody terrible game, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, because they've moved out prime time, haven't they?
Yeah, which was a great decision. I think I put that in our WhatsApp group a couple of weeks ago. Like, that was a great decision. Is it Bengals Chargers instead?
It is, yeah, on Sunday Night Football.
Which, I mean, does you no good, because I'm sure you'd rather be playing at 9:25 than middle of the night.
Yeah.
But in terms of viewing, the Jets have already been on prime time far too much, and the Colts have got nothing to offer to prime time. So yeah, makes complete sense to do that. Makes perfect sense. They but on the subject of the Jets, I didn't think the Jets were very good, but the Cardinals look frisky.
Well, they do, don't they? Like, they had a bad week the other week, didn't they? Where Kyler was just he didn't produce anything. But
he's got
I actually thought the Jets had an outside chance of winning that. I think I actually went with the Jets in my pick'ems as well, because I thought, the Jets have got a decent chance of winning against the Cardinals. But no, James Conner's a beast, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's an absolute beast.
We talked about it a few weeks ago. They've got some really good pieces, and the defense I read today, I hadn't realised, but they haven't given up a touchdown at home in their last 3 games. That's a pretty impressive performance. Like whoever you're playing against, and obviously the Jets and the Bears aren't particularly decent competition, but still, that's pretty impressive. So he's got them working well. Right, fantasy performances. Do you want to talk about him, or shall I talk about him?
I'll let you, because I don't want it to come across as me being biased.
I don't think I mean, we should just spend 15 minutes talking about Jamar Chase, because I don't think there really was anybody else to talk about this week. If you had Jamar Chase and you didn't win, that was pretty impressive, to be honest.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you were clearly playing against Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, and probably a couple. Well, that's what I mean. You sort of look down the list. There wasn't anybody else who put up big games this week. It was all about Thursday night, and yeah, it was all about a lot of that was about Jamar Chase. So 11 of 17 for 264 yards and 3 touchdowns, and
Monster
what should have
game.
been a 2-point conversion at the end. So
Well,
50.
if we'd have thrown it to him, maybe.
Yeah, somewhere between 50 and 55 points, depending on your scoring format. You got 49.9 in one of ours and 50 odd in 55 in another one of ours. So yeah, bloody impressive performance. Really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, to get nearly 50 points in a half PPR league.
Yeah,
that's pretty mental. But yeah, is he like, is it the third or fourth time he's been in the 50 club?
I think it's at least the third time in our home league since we've been tracking it. So yeah, he's
we do 50 clubs. So yeah,
I think that's the thing with having Jamar Chase in fantasy football is he's going to do that at least once in every season. It feels like. Yeah. So in summary, Jamar Chase is brilliant, and it's great having him. It's great having him on your roster. And like I say, if you had him this week, you probably won that matchup.
Yeah, you'd be devastated if you didn't. It's a bad week if you get 50 odd points on the board and then go and lose it. It's a tough week for you. But then I'm going to shout out Lamar Jackson on the other side of the ball. 25 of 33, 290 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 2-point conversion. Not much on the ground. Excuse me. Not much on the ground, but he didn't need to.
Yeah. Do you know, I was thinking while I was watching that game on Thursday, the one thing I was thinking about Lamar was I don't think he's playing any better than he has done in previous years, but their defense is playing a lot worse and they're giving up points.
Oh, yeah.
And therefore, from a fantasy football point of view, he's putting up big points on a more regular basis. Like you would have had, I remember there was times last year, because I had him in one league last year, where you'd get to the end and you'd be like, he's got 12 points because he just kept handing it off to Gus Edwards and they won 17-3 or whatever. And it's like, well, that was all they needed to do because the Browns are rubbish or whoever it was or whatever. Like, whereas this year, it's like everyone's coming in and scoring points against them. So it's like, right, they're more than capable and they're going toe to toe with everyone as they did with you lot on Thursday. But he's having to put up bigger fantasy totals and he's turning into probably the best pick of the draft, or at least one of the best picks of the draft.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Absolutely.
He's been brilliant.
Yeah, but staying on quarterbacks, I'm going to mention Kyler Murray.
Oh, nice.
I brought him up last week because he was terrible. This week, 22 of 24. Only missing 2 passes is an achievement on its own. 266 yards, 21 rushing yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. He set a franchise record for the most completed passes on the trot this weekend as well.
Oh, good. I didn't know that. That's a good achievement for him. Yeah.
I don't know.
He's
I don't know
good
where he
for
got
running around a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
think
thought his production was supposed to drop off now COD's come out.
Yeah, apparently not. The thing about him on Sunday, one of the advantages of the NFL just having 3 games on And I mean, it was terrible. The back end of red zone was terrible because the Jets were getting blown out, the Cowboys were getting blown out, the Titans weren't putting up much of a fight against the Chargers. It was like a slow, hard watch at the end of red zone on Sunday. But I think when there's only like 3 games, you get to see a little bit more of each of those games. And Kyler looked really comfortable. Like he looked like he could just do what he wanted to do, and couple of passes batted down as he's always going to get because he's 3'2". But other than that, he was picking the passes out when he needed to, leaning on Connor when he needed to, ran for a couple of first downs, ran in a touchdown too. It's like he just really looked like comfortable in that system. And they were talking about on the commentary about how he's bought into the fact that he doesn't have to do it all. He can lean on the running game and like just play his part. And he seems to be a little bit more comfortable in that. He's still going to have games where he doesn't turn up, because that's who he is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
hopefully he'll do enough to get me to the playoffs, and then he'll have 2 good games in the playoffs in various fantasy leagues that have bought into him again this year.
That's the one, yeah.
The only other one I was going to mention, and he's had a few good weeks on the trot, is Bijan Robinson. And he's not somebody I feel like and the only reason I mention him is I don't feel like he's someone we really ever talk about on this podcast, and I don't know why. It's kind of like when he has a good week, we kind of put it down to the fact that he should be having a good week because that's what he was drafted to do, and that's what the expectation level's been for well over a year now. But he had 20 carries, 116 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 receptions for another 28 yards. And I don't know if you saw I think it was the first touchdown, but they were like goal to go, like I don't know, first and goal on maybe the 1 or 2 yard line, and they gave it to Algier, and he got stuffed. And then second down, they gave it to Algier, and he got stuffed. Third down, they gave it to Algier, and he got stuffed. And then they were like, "Should we go for it and just give it Bijan?" And he just walked in, and I was like, "Yeah, that's." Probably should have done that on the first down and then saved a load of hassle. But he's starting to be the consistent player that people drafted him to be.
Yeah, you're right. I think that's the point. Like, does he stand out because we expect him to stand out? But his big games aren't massive, are they? He's not going for 30 odd a game like your Derrick Henry does or your Alvin Kamara does, who are the only 2 running backs higher than him in terms of performance this year. So Bijan's now up to running back 3 on the year. He's overtaken Saquon, who's dropped a place. But this is his first RB1 week of the season. It's just we expected better, and he's got the talent to be better. It's just, is it the offense? Is it Algier taking snaps off him? But he's not.
I think it is, but I think in full PPR, he's hit 20 odd points in 5 straight weeks. I was like, you can't. I mean, you drafted him in the first. If you drafted him in the first round of a redraft. That's what you drafted him to do, and I think that's pretty consistent. If I had him in any of the redraft leagues, I've got him in a couple of dynasties, but if I had him in any redraft leagues, I'd kind of be really happy with where he is. He's a 20 to 25 point, pencil it in, see what else you've got, which for a running back is not easy to find, especially in week 10 or 11.
Yeah, and I think part of that point actually is I don't have Bijan in any league anywhere.
Yeah,
I didn't manage to get him, so I can't really appreciate someone I don't have.
Who else don't you appreciate this week?
Oh, Jordan Addison. I am done.
Oh yeah. Oh, you're one of his biggest fans. You can't be done.
I'm done with Jordan Addison. I just can't put him in my teams anymore. 2 of 5 for 25 yards. Ridiculous. I mean, Sam Darnold had a stinker himself. 24 of 38, 241 yards, 3 interceptions, 6.4 points for the week. But even when Darnold's performing, Addison's not getting the targets. And now with Hawkinson back, he's even further down. I think Hawkinson got the highest share of first reads than any other tight end in the league. So Addison's value's gone off a cliff in my eyes, and I can't put him in any team.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I think Sam Darnold's a good quarterback. or he's at least shown he's an efficient middle of the road quarterback in the right system with the right players, but he's not good enough to keep Jefferson, Hawkinson, Addison, the run game, and everything going. And they started well. He picked the right time to have a bad game because they still won that game because let's face it, it's the Jags. So
Yeah.
I mean, I could argue that if Trevor Lawrence was fit, they would have given him a bit more of a game because Mac Jones isn't the answer. But I don't really blame you. I
Oh
don't
no, Matt
think
Jones
it's
looks
hard.
awful, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's hard to pick Addison ahead of other options for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Unless you get an injury.
What about you?
I could have picked one of about 15 players this week. So I've done quite well in my leagues, but I don't really know how. Because other than Jamar Chase and Kyler Murray, I've just got like lots of nonsense. But the one player I am going to pick out, and this is simply because he got me knocked out of Murph's FFCC. I'd made the last 16. I was in a good position, and this week was always going to be a struggle because I had 4 or 5 players on bye. By this point in the season, you've obviously got 4 or 5 players missing through injury and various different things. So I needed the players that I had. And for those that don't sort of understand the scoring on this league, you get 2 kickers, and kickers could score some big points. So I've had kickers scoring 50 odd points a week. And Younghoe Koo.
Younghoe Koo. Younghoe Koo, yeah.
Younghoe Koo needed to step up and deliver for me this week, and he didn't. 1 of 4 is just not good enough. So
one of them was a doink. It was a doink as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I wouldn't mind. I haven't actually checked the final result, but I wouldn't mind if I'd have lost by a long way. But because it was over 2 weeks, I came into this week with a 30-point lead. So I've ended up losing by about 15 points, which Younghoe Koo is like one of those 50. Like, I mean, he had one from 50 yards. Like, it's 2024. You're in the dome. You've got to be able to hit that. Like, they said on Monday Night Football last night that the fifth kickers across the league are at something like 70 odd % this year from 50 plus. I was like, you've got to make that kick. That's what you are there to do. He's dead to me that way.
I was saying on Sunday because I got Younghoe Koo as my kicker in the Scottish Bowl, so I was raging on Sunday. But I was saying it feels like more kicks are being missed across the league anyway.
It does, yeah.
Like even Justin Tucker's missing 1 point.
Yeah. It didn't start off that. I feel like at the start of the season, we weren't scoring touchdowns and the kickers were really stepping up and they were scoring some big points. And then the last few weeks, it's like you just can't trust any of them. They're all missing.
No. And then there's obviously the issue with Jake Moody.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to get into that? Have we got
I really don't.
To get into that?
I don't think we have got time to go through that. But another one on my hating you list is DJ Moore again. Like, I can't. Is he done? Like, there's a video of him waving back to fans on his way off the pitch. I'm like, what are you doing? You are an absolute clown.
Does he know the trade deadline's gone?
I know. He just won't release him. I can see him doing a full Antonio Brown, just quitting mid-game.
He's
taking
playing
his shirt off.
Yeah, he's playing fantasy football and his trade deadline's not till like next week, and he thinks that's the same for the NFL. He's like, just move me. I'm like, no, it's happened, mate. It's over. He's stuck. I think there's just the Bears are really odd because they looked really good in London, and I thought that was Caleb Williams' coming out party. And I know they're only playing the Jags and all that comes with it, but you still got to do it. And they just ever since their bye, they've looked terrible. He can't get anything going at all.
Yeah, well, I made the point before the bye because he'd had back-to-back decent games, and he was QB1 for one of those games, I think.
Yeah.
And I said to you guys on the pod, I said, do you think going into the bye, he's going to kill all the momentum that he's built up?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I'm right, and it was the bye because clearly they just can't get it going. I mean, they fired the offensive coordinator today. But I think that's just Matt Eberflus trying to buy himself some time. He's got 3 games max left in
Didn't
charge.
they get the offensive coordinator? I've forgotten his name. Didn't they get him from Seattle? I'm
Couldn't tell you, mate.
I'm sure I read something in the summer or heard something that they'd got him from Seattle, and the Seahawks fans were just delighted that he wasn't in Seattle anymore. So it's like he's one of them where it's like it was always set up to not be great. And I mean I've said this all along. I've got nothing against Eberflus as a person. Did a great job at the Colts, but he's just not a head. He's not a head coach. You could see it in Hard Knocks. You only have to watch 5 minutes of Hard Knocks to go. He's not going to lead them to a great season. So
you are right though. He was from the Seahawks because there's the video of Jackson Smith and Jigba being asked about how he thinks he's going to do at the Bears.
Yeah.
And the only thing Jackson Smith and Jigba could say about him was, he's a nice guy.
Yeah. It's just, it's all set up to fail. Like they are setting themselves up for a whole raft of changes at coaching staff, and then we'll go through the whole thing again with Caleb Williams next year. It's like right now he's got a new head coach, and they'll bring in a offensive coach and all that sort of stuff and try and get him moving. Right, fantasy game day. It didn't go well. It's all I'll say.
I said it wouldn't.
No, to be fair, I mean, H picked the court. H, for those who didn't listen, H picked the captain. Captain was Kareem Hunt. He did all right.
Which wasn't it wasn't an awful shout. He was running back 8 on the week, so it's not an awful shout.
He got basically got 100 total yards. Didn't get into the end zone. I don't know what it is like. Something that I will always be baffled by in terms of the NFL is those divisional games. Like there's just the Chiefs and Broncos are on a different level, but because they're in the same division, it's like, all right, it just turns it on its head. It's just an odd thing. Anyway, yeah, Kareem Hunt got 100 yards combined through the air and on the ground, 7 receptions. He, as captain, got us 34 points. That was all right. The rest of the team,
actually,
the rest of the team, it was just a lot of meh. Kirk Cousins 10, Aaron Jones 12, Najee Harris 11, Khalil Shakir 11, Darnell Mooney 14, and then the bits where I needed to save some money. The dart throw on Sterling Shepard didn't pay off at all. He only got one catch, and the dart throw on Juwan Johnson, I was in the right ballpark, but apparently that should have been MVS. So I knew there was going to be a safe score some points. I went with Juwan Johnson. He only got us 4 points. So in the end, we ended up with 100. There was 100 points. There was about 200 people in it, and we finished 102nd. So we were right in the middle of the pack, nowhere near the money, not disgracing ourselves, but it's another blank, and we move on to another week.
Right. Well, while you're on Darnell Mooney, did you know that he's in the top 10 receivers as well as Drake London?
Yeah.
The Falcons have got 2 top 10 receivers. And Darnell Mooney being in the top 10 is just mind-blowing.
The thing is, he's top 10. Bijan Robinson, we just talked about, has finally hit form and is playing really well. Kyle Pitts he's been off the ball the last 2 weeks, but he had 3 or 4 weeks where it was like, oh, actually, maybe he's arrived. And yet I still look at the Falcons. I still look at the Falcons and go, nah, not really that interested. Don't see anything from an NFL point of view. Just don't see. I don't know. I just don't think they're going to challenge. I just don't think they're going to do anything. They don't worry me in any way, shape, or. I mean, they're not going to worry me. I'm a Colts fan. It makes no difference. But it wouldn't worry me if I was an NFC contender. I don't know what you think.
No, I mean, well, that game against the Saints is a prime example of what we can expect from the Falcons. Like they will do well, but in games where they should absolutely go out and destroy a team, they won't.
Yeah. It feels like this is about the third, basically since Brady left the Bucs, that division has just been a car crash. and it continues to be a car crash. There's just nothing coming from that division. Right, captain for this week. I was going to go with Jahmyr Gibbs. It's the Jags at the Lions. He's 6,800, and I think they're gonna. And especially after Goff has just thrown 5 interceptions, they're not going to throw the ball a lot. They're not going to need to throw the ball a lot. The Jags aren't very good. So, and there's rumors today that Trevor Lawrence might be out for the season now. So they are really going to be the team.
Right, okay.
They are really just going to be the team that gets beaten up on for the rest of the way. So I was going to go with Jahmyr Gibbs. However, for 200 more, you can get McCaffrey. So we're going to go with McCaffrey instead, because I mean he came straight back in at the weekend, and it was almost as if he'd never left. So it's not cheap. It's 7,000, but Seahawks 49ers has all the. I think that could be a big scoring game, and I think that's where we'll go. We'll go with Captain McCaffrey.
Okay, right, nice one. I'll get that sorted.
I'm not thinking outside the box that much, but as captain, you need someone who's going to put all big points, don't you? So see what you can find us elsewhere.
Right, no problem.
Right, Fantasy Game Day. Those guys are doing good. I mean, they have got about 7 different games running for this Sunday. In fact, I'm going to get you the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 different games already opened up for this weekend. So if you played Fantasy Game Day last year when it was just 1 game, and you were after something a little bit different, you're after a lower entry, you're after something a bit with a higher entry, or you wanted to focus on certain games or whatever, I encourage you to get back on the app and have a go on it. And have a look at what they're offering now. They've really stepped up the game and trying to take advantage of DraftKings going under or leaving the UK, should I say. Enter our code JMDFS for if you haven't played before. Enter our code and get a free week. If you have played before, use your wife's phone to enter our code JMDFS. get a free week. And if your wife's played, and just say friends and get a free code. It's definitely worth doing and getting a free week. On the subject of DraftKings, we haven't talked about this much, but I remember saying to you at the start of the season, I was going to check all of my DraftKings best balls at about week 9, and I did it when I was in Denver. I was like, oh, we're about halfway through. I'm going to see how I'm getting on. And I don't know if you've been on to see how you're getting on in yours, but I went on.
No, but I'm going to do it now.
I went onto it, and at the start, it was like it basically shows you if you finish now how much you'd win in each one, and it was just like £15, £15, and like all of the top ones I could see I was winning, and I was like, oh wait, here we go, this is great. And then I realized it puts them in order of whether you're winning or not, so it automatically moved everything that I was winning to the top. So as of 2 weeks ago, I played $80 worth of best balls in the summer, and I was set to come out with $75. So it's not.
Well, waste of time.
It's not worth. Yeah, it's not the worst investment ever, but it was a bit of a waste of my summer.
So I've just gone on. I've got $64 worth of best ball teams, and I am due to win. So I'm in profit. 50 cents.
So 64.50.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, it counts as entertaining, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, boy, do I know what I'm talking about.
All those big debates and great chats we had across the summer. Right, JMD JTT Dynasty League. It's getting serious. We're in week 10. We've only got 4 weeks of the regular season left, and then we're into the playoffs. So let's jump in. First off, let's do the Cup. So the Cup was won by the final boss in the Elway division, otherwise known as Seahawk Sixers on Sleeper. So congratulations to him. This is where if we were a little bit slicker, we'd have like an applause or a congratulations banner or something on YouTube, but we're not. So that's as much as you get.
If you'd have given me a heads up before we recorded, I could have done one of those.
Yeah, apologies, the final boss. We'll get one of them. So we'll get one of them sorted for the end of the year. They scored 170.7. And would you like to take a wild guess at who he had at wide receiver? We just put him on his way to winning that. Any
Marcus
guesses?
Valdez-Scantling.
Yes, no, it wasn't Marcus Valdez-Scantling. Jamar Chase on Thursday night set him on his way, and he never looked back. Or they never looked back. So that's that. The voucher's on its way to you. That's the second cup competition. So we've done with the cups now, and now it's all focused on the league season. So let's start in the Brady division. This is the tightest thing I've ever seen. An 8-team league, and everybody has either 4, 5, or 6 wins. So it goes from 6 and 4 at the top to 4 and 6 in 8th place. It's ridiculously close. And talking of close, Never Dull in Hull beat Pump Up Those Balls this week, 126.5 to 125.8. So everything about that division is close. 3 teams at 6 and 4. So basically, all to fight for and all to play for. Yeoviltown 49ers, who were in the cup, who were the Brady representative in the cup, had the lowest score in that division this week. So really didn't pick a good time to land his lowest score of the season, lowest score in the division. Really sort of messed it up at the wrong time. But as I've said, everybody in that division is still in the playoffs. The regular season runs for 4 more weeks, so you've got 4 more weeks to sort that out. Moving on to the Elway division, this is a little bit different. We have 2 teams who are already basically out of playoff contention. So there's only 6 teams left in it. So the top score this week was Team Pestle, 172.08. The bottom score, or the lowest score, was Team 89 Monday with 112.14. Both of those teams, however, are on 7 and 3, together with Team DS Liddy 92 and the final boss, all of them 7 and 3. So we've got 4 teams at the top on 7 and 3. 7 and 3 tied. You've got 1 team behind them, Team Suarez Power on 6 and 4, and that's it basically. It's going to be 4 from 5, or it looks that way. There's 1 team on 3 wins that aren't out of it, but aren't looking great, and then Team Chemburns is 2 and 8 and basically out of it, or mathematically out of it, and Team JTT Corp is 1 and 9. He's having a shocker. His dynasty team is worse than the Jets. That's how bad. That's how bad it is. So not a great time for Millionaire Matt. So they're the first 2 teams to be knocked out of contention after just 10 weeks. Down into our division, in the Manning division. On the flip side, in the Manning division, we've got 2 teams who have secured a playoff spot. So the top score this week was Team Mungry Pablo, 171.3. Moves on to 8 and 2, and that's enough to secure him a playoff spot in that division. He is joined in the playoffs by the Last Waltz, who continue to waltz through our division without any problem whatsoever. They are now 10 and 0, which, granted, there has been some you got the 5th highest score of the in the league this week, so you've got to be playing the right people. But 10 and 0 is bloody impressive. So congratulations.
Still massive achievement that.
Yeah, indeed. And then in 3rd place is my JMD Penguins, who have gone from 2 and 3 to 7 and 3 in the last 5 weeks. So I'm on fire, flying towards the playoffs. So I need one more win.
Nice.
I need one more win to secure a playoff place in my division. And then lastly, onto yours, Ian. The top score, 3rd week on the trot, we've had a 200-point week from someone in your division. And the second time it's been Team Ginger Mamba, 217.86, which unfortunately was 0.2 short of the record which H holds, which would have been nice for somebody to take that off H. But yeah, 217, the second highest score we've had across any division all season long. So congrats to him. That's a great score. The lowest score was the Team The Boy with just 111, which was the lowest score of the week. And the 2 teams at the top, Dynasty Cowboys and Team Dynasty Island, both 8 and 2 and on the verge of booking their place in the playoffs. And then you've got Sherlock Mahomes in 3rd on 6 and 4. And then you've also got a team who's been knocked out. So we've got 3 teams overall. Team Drift Edge 0914 are sat at 1 and 9, so their playoff hopes are in the garbage. It's looking good. So and in terms of the Champions League format that starts in week 13, we've got 2, 3, 4, 5. I should have counted this before. 6, 7, 8. We've got exactly 14 teams with 6 wins or better. So as it stands, if you're on 6 wins, you will be entering that element of the competition for week 13. You've got 2 more weeks to fix that. So I will give a proper update on that next week. And then the week after, we will do a summary and we'll put together a board and we'll see who's got the bye and all of that sort of stuff in terms of our Champions League playoffs. But it's looking like the last waltz is going to win. He's going to have the number 1 seed anyway, 10-0, and nobody else within 2 wins at the moment. So well done to everyone who scored this week. And like I say, good luck with everyone the next couple of weeks in terms of making the playoffs, and we'll update you all next week. Any questions? Oh, we've used a whole 15 minutes up. Team selections. Sorry, my mind went out.
I don't know what you're doing then.
Selection nightmare.
Well, we've kind of missed waivers in the last quarter, so
we did.
You got any waivers that you want to go over?
The one that springs to mind, it's one of the one that I've been looking at, and it's not a guarantee, and it's not going to happen anytime soon, and I'm really going to regret mentioning this guy's name again. But I think Gus Edwards looked really good on Sunday in the bits.
Oh my God! I can't endorse this.
He's worth looking at because he'll have been dropped in most leagues.
Yeah, by me in all of them. I had so much Gus Edwards at the start of the season.
He looked good. He had 10 rushes for 55 yards. I was like, first game back in since week 4. He looked good. I mean, granted they were playing the Titans, but for a team that wants to run the ball, and running back injuries haven't been as bad as they would have been in previous years, but everyone's always looking for a running back. I think Gus Edwards is a good shout.
Okay, fair enough.
Who's your better option?
Well, it might be better, but it's also a running back. It's more of a stat, really, because you want to see if one game can turn into a few. And it's Audric Estime at the Broncos, who had 14 carries against the Chiefs. Javonte Williams, mysteriously, only got 1 carry. And Jaleel McLaughlin got 2. So I don't know whether we're seeing a changing of the guard over at the Broncos, with Estime standing out as the clear back. Sean Payton said he's going to get more work going forward. So it might be worth picking him up now and hoping that actually translates to some fantasy production.
Yeah, I wouldn't want Javonte Williams in many dynasty leagues because I think he will get another job if the Broncos decide to get rid of him, but just looks like the juice has all gone out of him with his couple of injuries, and they're just desperate to replace him with somebody.
Yeah,
could be Estime.
Yeah. And I've got a couple more if you've got any.
Well, you're probably going to mention him, but I'd be really interested to see what you thought of MVS, because we've already sort of briefly mentioned him. Is that a one-off? Just everything went right for them, and if you pick him up this week, he's going to have 2 catches for 14 yards, or is it the fact that they've got nobody else mean he could be a viable option the rest of the way?
He could be a viable option. They've got no one else. They've got Tipton and Taysom Hill and Kamara, and that's pretty much it. So it's definitely worth a pick up. It's more like Estime, looking to see whether one good game can turn into 2 or 3 or even more. Because Olave, I don't see Olave coming back anytime soon. Obviously, Shaheed's done for the season. So Valdez Scantling, he's proved that he can He can be trusted. I mean, he only got three catches, but 109 yards and 2 touchdowns. It's incredible return.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got no issue with that one.
On before we give you your others, you lost in a league to me by about 6 points, and you've got Alvin Kamara in that. Did you see the drop he had when he was wide open on the left hand side? That would
Yeah,
that
it's
would
pretty
have
bad,
gone
isn't it?
that would have gone for a long way. I was just wondering, are you still all in on Alvin Kamara despite that? That what might have
I'm
cost
still
you
on
the
it.
league?
It's one drop. Like you can't
That's the win.
give up on someone for one drop or one fumble. I mean, even though it did
Go
cost
on,
me a game, but
who's your other
well,
waivers?
my other one was MVS, just on the off chance
Yeah.
that it turns into a couple of good games. And my last one is a tight end, and it's Dawson Knox. Kincaid's picked up a knee injury.
That's a good shout.
So Kincaid might be missing a week or more. Have to wait further in the week for a full analysis, but it reopens the door for Dawson Knox to be a part of the offense. And we've already seen it. He can be a key for Josh Allen.
So I did that trade with H last week after many discussions on here, and I think they were on here. I did a trade with might have been after the show. I did a trade with H last week that ended up with me getting Pollard and Kincaid off him. And at one point during Red Zone on Sunday, they went back to back from the Titans and Pollard on the bench game to the Bills with Kincaid on the bench getting treatment. And I was like, well, this has worked out perfectly for me. So,
yeah. But he did also get Engram, who's not got a quarterback, didn't he?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was just a mess of 3 players that aren't going to do anything. But it was nice to get traded with someone.
Yeah, but if you're looking at bye weeks this week, if you've got McBride or K. Darton as your tight end, you are looking for a new tight end this week. Dawson Knox could be the man.
Knox is not a bad shout actually. Right. Selection nightmare. I was going to move on then. We haven't done selection nightmares, have we? Who's your selection nightmare?
No. So mine is either Tyreek Hill versus the Raiders or Cortland Sutton versus the Falcons in half PPR. Now, it seems ridiculous that this is even a debate. Tyreek Hill versus Cortland Sutton. If you take week 1 away from Tyreek, where he scored 22.5 points, he's averaging 7.4 points a game. And he's only scored 2 touchdowns all year. His last 3 games have gone for 10.2, 10, and 10.2, which no one drafted him for that. No. If you look on the other side of that element, Cortland Sutton has gone for 13.1, 19.8, and 16 in his last 3 games, and has got a better matchup against the Falcons, who've just given up 109 yards and 2 touchdowns to MVS, as we just mentioned.
Oh, that's a tough one. I know it's. You can't leave Tyreek Hill on the left. So I think a lot of this depends on the rest of your roster and where you are, and in terms of if you just need a safe pick, then maybe Cortland Sutton's the answer. But you can't leave Tyreek Hill on the bench, surely.
That's your answer, just because it's Tyreek Hill. Do I put him in my squad and hope that he gets arrested on his way to work?
Yeah, do you know what? I was thinking about him last night before the Monday night game. He was sort of like, is he going to play or not? And I was up against him in at least one league. And the thing is, I think you can kind of go, oh well, CMC was a terrible first round pick because he's not played all year and blah blah blah. But at least you knew he wasn't playing. Like you can play someone else. Like, I've had him in several leagues. Whereas Tyreek Hill is a bit like last year, where if you had Jamar Chase when you had, I can't remember the guy throwing in the ball who wasn't very good.
Jake Browning.
Quarterback. Yeah.
Jake Browning.
It's a bit like that. Like you can't. I'd rather he was injured than play him with Jake Browning. And it was the same with Tyreek Hill. Like, I would have rather he'd been injured than him having two very average or below average quarterbacks throwing him the ball. Because it's like at any point he could go off for an 80-yard touchdown, and you don't want to be the idiot who's benched Tyreek Hill. It's better if they just get injured themselves. But that said, I would play Tyreek Hill.
Okay. Just because he's got to happen at some point.
Yeah. And I don't think
Okay.
Cortland's so the one I've got two wide receivers as well, and the debate I'm having is I think one of them has a higher ceiling than the other, and I don't think Cortland Sutton's ceiling's that high. I think he's going to score double digits, but is he going to get to 20? Probably not. So it's like if you
he got 19.8 2 weeks ago.
Well,
so yeah, not 20, but
I just don't think, and it's one of those games that you look at it and go, well, I suppose it's the Falcons. I don't know. Yeah, it's a tough one, but I'm going Tyreek Hill.
Right. Okay. Cheers.
I'm not going on record and picking Cortland Sutton over Tyreek Hill at any point.
Okay.
And I don't like the guy. So as I've made it quite clear in the past, I do not like him. So mine's pretty similar. Well, it's two wide receivers. That makes it similar. Devonta Smith against the Commanders on Friday morning / Thursday night. And the alternative I've got is DK Metcalf at the 49ers on Sunday.
Is DK going to play?
Well, I'm assuming I'm working on the basis that
he is.
Yeah, it's early in the week, but I'm working on the basis that I don't think he was that badly hurt. I think they just thought, what's the point in throwing you out there with the bye week come in? It's like, let's make you sure you're fully rested, and at least that's the story I'm telling myself. So,
well, no, I wanted to play because I've got tons of DK. I love the guy.
Yeah,
and yeah, it's yeah, I'm going with DK.
Yeah, Devonta Smith, like he's such a good receiver, but when they've got Barkley, AJ Brown, and Dallas Goedert catching touchdowns as he did at the weekend, it's just like Devonta Smith feels like one of them. If he doesn't catch a 50-yard touchdown pass, which he does quite regularly, but if he doesn't catch a 50-yard touchdown pass, he's going to end up with 4 points, and you're just going to be disappointed.
Yeah, he's one of those where he'll get you 10 points from 3 targets and 1 touchdown because it was just a long bomb touchdown. But yeah, I can't ever. Well, not at this moment in time. I couldn't say take Devonta Smith over DK Metcalf. In my opinion, DK Metcalf is still a top 8 wide receiver in the league.
Ooh. Okay. Do you want him?
Nah, I will. Yeah, I will have him. Absolutely, I will have him. I think in hindsight, top 8's a bit too much. Top 12, I'm going with.
Okay. I'll do what I did last week and just trade one of them away before it gets to the weekend, so my nightmare is over. For the record, Kane Orton didn't really do a lot, and neither did Evan Ingram, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, come at me. I'll take DK off you.
We should do a bit of a summary of what we went for the previous week to see if we're actually getting these right or not. We did that at the beginning of the season. We've not done it for a few weeks. Right. We didn't win any money this weekend because for starters, we went for the Giants to beat the Panthers, and Tyrone Tracy saw to the end of that. So, despite the comeback,
he was in bits at the end of that game as well, wasn't he? Like he was so upset.
I think that's. I mean,
I was upset for him.
If you're in Carolina and you've got to go back to New York, that's bad enough. If you're in Germany, you've got you've costed the game. You're not gonna be home till at least the next day. Like that's not a great situation to be in, is it? But this week we're just going with the 3 games this week. We've got Thursday night should be an interesting game. Commanders at Eagles. I think we'll probably be going for the same team here, but I think Commanders should make this interesting.
I think it'll be an interesting game. I think the Commanders have got a chance, but I think the Eagles are going to win it.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see the odds on this because I don't know what it is about the Commanders, and I know we have at least one very staunch Commanders fan listening, so I'm going to be very careful what I say before I get abused on social media or through various WhatsApp groups. But I'm still not convinced that how they're getting to where they've got to. But they're in even the games they lose at the weekend. They're in every game. They're playing really well. They're better than the sum of their parts, I suppose, is what I'm getting at. You sort of look around and go, other than McLaurin, he's got no one to throw the ball to. We all thought Austin Eckler was washed up 3 months ago, and
Yeah.
he's basically the leading running back, and yet they're still putting up 27, 28 points. So it's impressive.
Well, I
But
do want to give a shout out to Austin Eckler because in Scottish, because of the unique scoring for kick returns, Austin Eckler won me my matchup this week with a massive 40 points.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I've got a lot of love for Austin Eckler this week, as if I never do have a lot of love for Austin Eckler. But yeah, like Zach Ertz is a top 10 tight end now. He's snuck into the top 10 this week, which you look at that, you're like, what year is it? Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's 2018. What's going on? Zach Ertz is the top 10 tight end again, and Terry McLaurin's back to his best. Yeah, I think it'll be an interesting game. I think the Eagles will win it.
McLaurin's looked good. He has looked good. Yeah, I agree. I think Eagles will win. And then Sunday Night Football, we've already touched on. It's your lot. So they've flexed out the Colts. So, I mean, to be quite honest, I was about to say I don't need to stay up for it, but I'm more likely to stay up and watch this than I was ever likely to watch Jets and Colts. So this could be a good game. So Bengals at Chargers.
Yeah, I'm going to go with those.
Sunday. I think you'll beat them.
Yeah, I mean, as pessimistic as I am sometimes, I think we are going to go on a run now.
Yeah, I'm tempted to agree with you. I think the Chargers have looked good, but they're doing a good job against teams that, like the Titans, that they should be beating. And I think, I've not looked at your schedule, but you need to go on a bit of a run. And I think it probably starts this week. So, yeah, I agree with it. I think the Bengals will win that. And then it's H's lot on Monday night. So we're all getting a mention. H's lot are they at the Cowboys?
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
All right, I thought for some reason I thought the Texans were at home, and just confused me the way that was written. But yeah, Texans at Cowboys.
They've got to win that.
Rush.
The Texans have got to win. I think Nico Collins is back this week. That opens everything for CJ Stroud. The Texans are gonna walk all over the Cowboys. I think. Depends on how sunny it is. What's the weather?
Well, it's Monday night, so I'm assuming not great.
Right. Yeah. So
I think they'll be all right. I've not seen the interview, the Jerry Jones when Jerry Jones was asked about it, but I believe he lost his cool, for want of a better phrase, about it.
It was just like, should we just tear it down and build a new one?
Yeah, it's like, well, you could just tint the glass, maybe. But this isn't a new thing. Every football fan has said this for years. It's a really weird thing to have. I just can't believe at some point they haven't gone, because it's the Cowboys and they're sort of, you can see them being like this. I don't understand why they haven't got retractable blinds that they can just bring up and down depending on who's playing, who's going which way in that quarter.
I mean, that's got to be illegal, isn't it? Closing the curtains when you're.
Yeah, do you think it is? Maybe it is.
That has to be. It has to be. I think playing conditions have got to be the same for both teams.
You'd think if there's not a rule, there'd be a rule after the first week that they did it. So
yeah,
I think that the one thing that got lost a little bit on Sunday was, I thought their defense, and this is a stupid thing to say because they ended up putting up the best part of 40 points, I thought their defense looked better to start with. So the first few drives, they sort of got all over Jalen Hurts. They held the Eagles to like a field goal and like not a lot, a couple of short drives, and they looked good. The problem is like Cooper Rush came in and went 3 and out, and then the defense was back on the field, and it's like by the end of the first half they were gassed and it was over.
Yeah.
But if they can get a little bit more going on the offensive side, it wouldn't surprise me to see them give the Texans a game. But I think at some point the Texans have got to kick in and go, right, if we're going for the Super Bowl, we need to make a push now. And Nico Collins coming back is a perfect opportunity to go, right, let's kick on from here. So I agree with you. I think that's we don't even need to ask H. So I think we're all in agreement. We're going Eagles, Bengals, Texans. And then
Love it.
Whichever we can blame you or H, depending on which one of your teams messes that up for us.
It'll be mine.
Got to win that one, mate.
I'm back with the pessimism.
Yeah, got to win that. Anything you need to add before I wrap it up?
No, I'm all good.
All right. Good luck to everyone in week 11. It's getting serious now. There's not a lot. If you haven't made a push, you're running out of time. So depending on your league, I will tell you what I am enjoying, and I know we're not supposed to say this. I did get entered into a couple of 10-team leagues. I am enjoying the fact that 6 of the 10 go into the playoffs at the end of the year. Seems a bit ridiculous that we play all this year and then all this time and then only knock 4 teams out. But I am quite enjoying that. Like, it's a bit nonsense, and it's an opportunity for me to like reinforce the fact that 8-team leagues are the way forward. Half the teams make the playoffs, half the teams don't. It's a very simple semi-final finals showdown, but I am enjoying those where I'm sort of I'm like 5 and 5 in a couple, and then you look at the table and I'm like, oh, it's the top 6. I'm all right. So
I'm okay.
Just got to work it out between now and then. Thanks for listening or watching. As always, we appreciate the support from all of you. If you're not already supporting us on social, follow us at JMD Pod and at JMD Podcast on TikTok. Like and subscribe on YouTube, and tell your friends about us, about the Fantasy Game Day code, just generally about everything JMD related. So thanks for listening, and tune in again next week.